Hey there. Okay, so I totally just had some technical issues. I was going live and I realized that people actually didn't have the ability to hear or see me. So please forgive me, anyone who was on my live recently and they couldn't hear anything because it sounds like I guess there was some breakdown to where I'm talking and I'm saying things, but that doesn't mean it's going through. So hopefully this time around, um, if I'm on and I'm talking, you guys can hear me. So again, I'm sorry for that little technical issue. Those of you who were so generous to hop on and didn't hear anything, I hope that issue's been fixed. Anyways, I also wanted to give a shout out to those who have just been so generous to support this cause. Hello, hello, hello. Sorry about that. Yeah, there is an issue going on. I don't know why, but I guess I was talking, but no one heard me. But I'm glad you can hear me now. But anyways, I wanted to shout out to those who have been just so generous to support the platform. Bobby, thank you so much for your generous donation. David Hinton, I see you. Thank you so much. Matthew for sending some appreciation. Brody B for sending some love via Cash App. Russell Spears. Nathaniel White, thank you so much. You sent a lot of love. Also, Nathaniel, if you hear this at all, just know that I cannot communicate with you via Cash App. So I know you've sent me a few questions and comments. I'm not able to communicate via Cash App. So if you guys ever want to reach me, please send me an email because some of these platforms I can't always directly respond. And then Nathan Carter, again, thank you so much for sending appreciation. You guys, you can find me on Cash App or Venmo if you want to show some love and hear some more content like this. Also, if there's any content or just ideas or topics you want me to cover off, always let me know. Send me an email. I'd love to hear from you. Without further ado, I want to get into the topic. So the title, Luxury is Nice, but it won't make you happy. So I wanted to address this, especially as a woman, because, I mentioned this before. I've been in digital marketing probably about 8 years now, actually. I worked in the corporate space, really about 7 of those years, working for different businesses, different big brands, working with different influencers. And anytime you're a woman in the social space, especially if you're an influencer, there's very, very much a push. There's very much a push to present a certain lifestyle, to present a certain look. And many brands capitalize off of this idea of promoting a luxurious lifestyle to women specifically. And we see this in everything from handbags to, fashion influencers, to, makeup artists, to perfume, to vacations, all these really nice, luxurious things that we see promoted many of the times, they're marketed to women. And there's this message that is sold to us all the time, which is, okay, you need to get this nice luxury thing, or you need to get this nice fill in the blank. It could be whatever, a house, a car, but basically attain to get this luxury lifestyle. And then you're going to be happy. That is essentially our culture. This is why you have, the millionaire matchmaker. This is why you have, the Real Housewives of Atlanta, basketball wives. This is why you have celebrity worship. The reason there's such an emphasis on what the top, 5% of 5%ers or earners, there's such an interest in what the rich people do, is because there's this desire, and there's this push for, women to essentially try to seek to live or to try to portray this luxury lifestyle. And I also want to say that too. I think there is a pressure to portray that you live this kind of luxury lifestyle. I mean, when you actually look at the amount of money that your average woman makes in America, I want to say it's anywhere between 30 to 40,000. The average income they make, and then the way people portray themselves on social media and the way things look online, I'm like, there is a huge difference. There's a very, very, very big difference. It is interesting. I recently saw O'Shea Duke Jackson do a review. I think something about, I don't remember the title, but it was something about a struggle IG model. And he was basically saying how all these supposed IG models who present this glorious, lavish lifestyle of going to Dubai and doing all these things, most of them are living in, 200-300 square foot apartments on mattresses on the floor. They don't even have enough money to get a bed frame. And that's true. I mean, all we have to do is look at the data and see that most women are not living the, you know, luxurious lifestyle that we see pushed all the time. And the reason I want to dispel this myth that all it takes, the goal for a woman should be to get as much money as possible or to attain a man that has as much money as possible, because, hypergamy is a real thing. Again, you have an entire channel dedicated to this notion of, okay, women, try to date up, try to date a guy that makes as much money as possible. Only go for a guy that makes twice your income. I mean, you see this over and over and over and over again. I mean, Kevin Samuels, that's the entire premise of his show, is literally based upon women, everyday average women, calling in and saying, I want a guy that makes twice as much as me, or 3 times as much as me, or even 4 times as much as me. Because if your average woman's, let's say, making $30,000, and then want a guy who's making $100,000, that's what, almost 3 to 4 times their income. So the entire premise of his show is an entire generation of women who have said, I want to be with a guy that can basically give me a luxurious lifestyle. And then, of course, he goes and he asks the basic questions. How about this? How about that? How about that? Trying to get to the core reason of why do you want a high value lifestyle? And none of them can ever really give him a clear answer. It's always just the but, I feel like, but me, I feel like, and it's like history repeats itself over and over and over and over again. And so I noticed this not only from my background, being a marketer, working in corporate spaces, and seeing how there are campaigns created to promote a luxurious lifestyle or to promote a high lifestyle. So I know this from my corporate background. I know this anecdotally, right? Just from, being a female and talking to different women, you know what I mean? And seeing the way that we move and experience life sometimes. And then all you have to do is turn on, like I said, the television, or pick up a magazine, or just, listen to a song, and that, I don't want to scrub, Dusties. I feel like every single day some dude is being called a Dusty, just because he's not making 7 figures, or now I think Dusty has now devolved to the point that if a female don't like a dude, then he's a Dusty. Just if she doesn't agree with what he says, like, he's a Dusty. But either way, there's such a push. There is this lie that many of us women that have been told, which is, hey, you need to have these luxurious things in order to be happy. And many women fall prey to this. They get on social media, they put on their best, makeup. Some guys call it cake up, depending on how much is on. They'll put on their best hair, their best lace front, their best weave, their best outfit. They may go stand in front of a nice house and take a picture, or go stand in front of a car they don't own and take a picture, or do really anything to promote this idea of, hey, this is luxury, 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 luxury. And I'm like, why the facade? Why the facade? Why is there such a need to promote this idea that if I'm a woman, I've got to have this high life in order to be happy? And I think that's a problem. The reason I think that's a problem, one, is because most people are struggling. Most people aren't living living like the Jeff Bezos, or living like the Bill Gates, because there's repercussions to that in this society that was literally, the economy was literally built off of free labor. There are repercussions to being, the rich of the rich of the rich of the rich. Like, there's a history behind that, oftentimes a very bloody history. So let's not forget about that. But secondly, I think one reason I think it's so bad to push this idea that, like, hey, women, you should just desire to just live as a rich lifestyle, have as much luxuries as possible, is because that's unhealthy. That's a really unhealthy way of living, because the flesh can never be satisfied. If you live just to try to compete, just to try to have the best and the nicest things, you'll never be happy, because things always go out of style. You'll get, the best bag, the best shoes, And then those shoes will go out of style. And then the next month you got to get another pair of shoes, and then you got to get another pair of shoes. And it's just like, and again, I'm not gonna say I'm a minimalist. I like going to nice restaurants. I like having nice experiences. I like nice things. I don't think there's anything wrong with liking nice things. What I think is a problem is when that drives you. And I think what's a bigger problem is when there's a pressure to promote a kind of lifestyle or to promote living a kind of way that many people are not. And to make it seem like you're one thing when you're not. Like I said, most influencers are broke. Many social influencers, are broke, don't have a dollar to their name. And yet online, it looks like everybody's living their best abundant life. All these boss babes, you know what I mean? All these business owners, CEOs, and people are struggling. People are struggling. So like, let's just stop. Let's just stop with this need to promote or to feel like I'm settling. It's interesting. I posted this thing on YouTube. I'm actually going to read a few comments. I posted this thing on YouTube. Okay, what do women mean when they say, I'm not going to settle? Because I hear that all the time. I'm not going to settle. I'm not going to settle. And it always was always just very unclear. It's like, settle on what? And so I wanted to ask, okay, like, what do women mean when they say that? So I'm going to read some of the comments. So it says, okay, a rich man could find a woman who works at Walmart, fall in love, and that story is worthy of tears, cheers, and maybe made for a TV movie. First of all, I totally agree. If a rich billionaire man fell in love with a woman from Walmart who's trying to love herself, are you kidding me? That'd probably be like the #1 best-selling movie or something, like totally. Now, if a rich woman could find a man who works at Walmart, fall in love, she would be labeled a fool. That is the truest thing ever. That is the truest thing ever. If a rich man falls in love with a poor woman, that's the premise of Cinderella. A prince falling in love with a servant. That is the premise of Cinderella. And that's like one of the most popular fairy tales. That story has been made over and over and over again. Women love it. We've all watched it, cry to it. That is a popular narrative that is told over and over and over again. Now, if that was the other way around, and it was some queen, some heir to the throne that wouldn't fell in love with like a shoemaker or some dude sweeping. Are you kidding me? That movie, no. First of all, it wouldn't even be a movie because it wouldn't get the funding. Second of all, just no, that just wouldn't happen. That'd be weird. That would be considered weird. So this person's idea of, okay, what does it mean when women mean I want a man in their level? Here it's a woman who's making as much, if not more than them. Here's another one. Let's see, another comment. So, and again, my question would, what do women want when they say they want a guy in their level? Men who financially out-earn them and will financially support them, men who are just as college educated or higher, and men who have more social proof status. Yeah, no, that's real. That's real. I can't disagree with that. And then this comment says, I believe most women who say that are referring to what they have accomplished and what they feel they deserve. I believe this issue comes because some women judge men poorly and think they're not on their level, although they are. Part of some women's perception, I believe, is superficial. Yeah, no, I agree. I completely agree. From what I understand, truly, what I understand when a woman says, I want to do it on the level, what I honestly think that means is I want a dude who's making minimally as much. The bare minimum is he has to be making as much as me. But in an ideal scenario, he's making more. Why do I say this? Personal experience. Friends that I know, people in my circle, Christian women I know, we all sit down and talk about, what's the kind of guy that you want, yada, yada, yada. And of course, there's always this very like flowery, I want him to have a good heart. I want to have him to get this. I want to have a good that. It's like, for example, anytime a woman meets a guy, right, and he's talking to her, generally it's like, oh, okay, so how is he? Is he cute? Is he tall? So you kind of do those like cute little superficial questions. And then you get to the core of, okay, what does he do? Okay, let's just really get down to it. Like, what does he do? What is his job? What is his career? What is his earning potential? Almost every woman that I know That is a question that comes up like early on. If you know a good friend of yours is talking to somebody, you want to know pretty early on, what's this? Okay, what does he bring to the table? I don't know that guys do that. I don't think they do. I think for them, it's generally a lot more about, okay, is she nice? Is she cooperative? Is she pretty? You know, guys are a lot more simple. But that's another that's another comment. But I just know in my own experience, I've even seen this. I mean, the amount of dating and relationship shows out there is just endless. There's like a $1 million market multi-million-dollar market based upon the dating industry. But I can't tell you how many shows I've seen where this is be a high, strong, independent single woman that doesn't need a man, right? Let's just start there. So this woman has her own money, she has her own degree, she has her own house, she has a PhD, she has her own car, like she has all these things. She doesn't need nobody. She don't need nobody. And then literally a matchmaker will ask her, okay, so what do you want? What do you want in a man? She's just like, oh, well, I prefer a dude that's making a little bit more than me. Or I prefer a dude that's making as much, if not more than me. Or, I want to be able to stay at home when I have kids. I mean, I've heard this over and over and over and over again. I mean, again, Kevin Samuels his show is living proof of this. If you don't believe me, just watch 2 or 3 episodes of his show and you will see this same scenario played over and over and over again. And it doesn't matter where the woman comes from. It doesn't matter her background. It doesn't matter her age, her ethnicity. It doesn't matter if she's calls herself an atheist or a Christian or a spiritualist or whatever. At the end of the day, you get the same answer. Okay, I can work, but I don't want to have to work. So from what I understand, when a woman says, I want a guy on my level, it's, yeah, I want a guy who can financially provide. And there's research literally around this about whether or not women are not naturally hypergamous. I've heard some theories say, okay, again, if you look at the way women are actually created, women have to bear children, right? And so the natural selection, the natural mating process has basically caused the women to naturally be a lot more selective about who they choose, and to basically choose the highest bidder because they are ingrained, or they are programmed to want to find security because of the fact that there's a really high risk involved when they find love. There's a high risk involved when they're with a guy. They could get pregnant, and that, there's risk associated with that. So I've seen a few studies that say, yeah, women tend to seek out security in men. They're biologically driven to do so because of their biological imperative, right? Their ability to have kids and the repercussions that come with that. But whether or not it's biologically proven, scientifically proven or not, at the end of the day, many women, they're looking for that security. They're looking for that security. So again, my core issue with this push of a luxury dream fantasy lifestyle that so many of us women are marketed to through day one is, one, it creates an unrealistic expectation because most people in America are not making 6-7 figures. And so if you're a woman that grew up in a household where people are making average money, and then you grow up coming of age and you've decided that you want to end up with a guy that's making above average money, but you're not around those people, you're not around those guys, it's like you may pass by plenty of good, hardworking men who may be quote unquote on your level, but they don't reach this fantasy idea. They don't reach this Cinderella princess idea that you were heard. And you pass on opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. And I think that's damaging. Hey, Sassoon. Hey, I actually used to live in Sassoon. I lived there when I was a kid. I no longer am there, but really familiar with that area. So, hey, thank you for joining. And it looks like we've had some people join in. Just to kind of give you guys a quick recap. I'm just talking about luxury. I'm wanting to address, I think, some of the false narrative that many of us women have been sold, that you need to have luxurious or nice things in order to be happy, in order to be satisfied. So I wanted to kind of just unpack that a little bit more. If you're on, please like the video. Please be sure to like, share, tag people on it. Also, you can find me on Cash App and Venmo, Shay Sade. Thank you so much for those who have been generous to share a contribution. I truly, truly appreciate you. And as always, if you have any topics or content ideas you'd like me to cover, feel free to let me know. You can always email me. But anyway, so let's, going back to this idea, most people struggle. Most people, are struggle or they live average income lives. And I think that's totally good and acceptable. The problem is that many of us women, we haven't been told that's okay. We haven't been told that, hey, you don't have to go for the Prince Charming, because he may not actually be out there. or maybe your Prince Charming is the guy living next door to you, or maybe your Prince Charming is, your best guy friend you grew up with, who you can count on. Maybe he's not a guy that's making 7 or 8 figures. See, and the reason I'm passionate about this, so this is what I wanted to share, right? So I can say I probably have had, as an African American woman, I've probably been exposed to things that maybe your average, person in America, and even maybe Black person in America hasn't. This doesn't make me better than anyone. I'm certainly am not. But I think I've seen enough things to kind of understand, like, hey, some of these, at the end of some of these ideas is just emptiness. So, for example, in my teens and in like my early 20s, I lived in this really, really beautiful home. I mean, I always lived in really safe neighborhoods. My parents were very hard workers, and they made sure that we lived in safe environments. So I always lived in nice homes. But when I got, late teens, early 20s, I was, living with them, and, we were living in a beautiful multi-million-dollar home in a gated community. And surrounded by, you're talking business owners, CEOs, people who owned, like football and basketball teams, like beautiful, beautiful area. So yeah, I remember being, living there for some time. I remember I would get invited to like exclusive events that only people within the gates could go to. They would, and it's funny the amount of free things you get when people think that you're rich, or people think that, you're affluent. But anyways, we'll get invited to these events to do different things. But I also, I was in college and I also worked. I worked in the country club that serviced that multi-million-dollar community that I was living in. So I remember working there, and when people that I work with found out that I actually lived in the community, gosh, I remember they would just be like, "Oh my gosh, you live here? Like, oh, it must be like a dream. Do you just wake up and just feel like, oh, that the world is perfect?" And oh man, like I remember talking to people, and they would just be like this awe that some of them would get when they would find out that I lived there. They'd be like, "Oh man, you must just feel like you're on top of the world. You must just feel like you're the happiest person, yada yada yada." And I'm listening to them, and I'm just like, no, I mean, it's a nice house. Like I'm not mad at it. It's a nice house. But I don't wake up and it's like, oh, my life is complete because I live in this really beautiful home, or because we have access to certain things. No, that's not, that wasn't my experience. And so that happened like time and time again. And I can say for me, there's different reasons and different things that happened, but, I got to the point where I was like, hey, I'm ready to move out. Yeah, I could stay here, but I'm ready to move out. Like I need to kind of branch out and live my own. And I made that decision for multiple reasons. And believe it or not, it's like I moved out of that environment and kind of got away from those certain things, needed to find myself, for lack of a better term. And I feel like that was some of the first time I started to really feel like, wow, like I'm at peace. I'm at peace now. Like I'm able to kind of decipher through different things. I don't feel the pressure to have to live up to this. I don't feel the pressure to have to be this. Like I feel okay. And the reason, I think the reason for me, I will say I know firsthand luxury doesn't necessarily make a person happy, is because, like I said, I've had experience to know that living there, right, and living on my own, hey, when I first moved out, it wasn't easy. Like I wasn't making nearly as much money as my parents were making. So of course it's like, okay, struggle was real. You're living in a little small 400 or 500 square foot apartment, and that was my life. And it was like, I made that decision because I needed to figure out certain things. And I was happy. Like I was happy. I was like the happiest I'd ever been when I got out of that environment. I was like, wow, I'm really figuring things out on my own. And so for me, that was the first, I guess, telltale sign. There was like, hey, I don't necessarily need to be in a big luxurious home or be in a big luxurious house to feel happy about myself. My happiness isn't tied to that. Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying nice things are bad. Nice things are great. I think it's good to desire things and desire to um, I think it's good to desire things and to, want to do better. So I'm not saying like, oh, you should just desire to just live in a shack your entire life or just live in a car, or you shouldn't do, you should just try to live on top of ramen. Like I'm not a minimalist. I like nice clothes. I like nice cars. Like I had so much good exposure when I was living in that home and in that environment. I think I learned a ton. I learned so much, and I wouldn't trade that experience in with the world. And it gave me a lot to look forward to. Let me just say that. But I wanted to dispel the myth that simply acquiring nice things automatically leads to happiness, because it does not. I mentioned to you before that I would get invited to different things, get invited to different events where I was basically networking with like some of the different neighbors, things of that nature. They arguably, some of those people that I met arguably were the most miserable. When I say miserable, I mean miserable people that I've ever met. I remember in particular, there's a handful of people when I was working at the country club who they did not want to go home because they were unhappy with their home situation, and you got enough alcohol in them. Sometimes they would just start to they would just tell all, but they're miserable. And the country club became their escape route. It became the place where they would go to not have to deal with their problems, have to deal with their interpersonal problems, have to deal with their marital problems, not have to deal with the fact that they didn't like their children or get along with their wife. And I'm like, whoa, this is wild. And in one end, literally, I was working with a lot of, Mexican and Salvadorian immigrants at the time. And we're talking and just like, wow, like, it must be so amazing to like live in this kind of house. Wow, it must be so amazing to do X, Y, and Z. And then the other end, I'm networking and I'm talking to these different people, right? I'm being exposed, having conversations with, business owners here, yada, yada, yada. And they're miserable. Like I said, you get alcohol in them and they're talking about how depressed they are or how they don't like their wives. And so I'm thinking, okay, happiness, I don't know that it necessarily has anything to do with this person having a big home or not having a big home. And that's the core. I think that is the core, the foundational fallacy that I want to address, that acquiring nice, bigger things automatically equates to more happiness and automatically equates to more value, because it does not. Because like I said, I had really nice experiences. I lived in this beautiful home, was around really rich people, had, experiences, opportunities in certain things. I went to a great, 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 highly accredited college. And I still had insecurities. There were times there where I struggled, where I felt really sad. I had my own, I was a normal person. Like I had times where I was like, I'm stressed out. I'm not feeling well. I questioned who I was as a woman. I had all of those things going on mentally when I was all around those big, beautiful, nice, happy things. So that's not, like I said, that right there was just like, this is a lie. This is a lie. Like, you living this kind of lifestyle, or you living in these places doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be happy. People committing suicide, living in those homes, kids committing suicide because they feel like their parents aren't there for them. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that happens. This is the kind of stuff that people don't talk about. And you hear, as a woman, secure the bag. You go on Instagram and you see the Instagram model, wearing this beautiful high-end fill in the blank. And you don't know that she rented that. She rented that from a clothing store, or she borrowed it from a friend, or she spent her last rent money on it and she don't know where she's going to stay. Like, people don't know the story. People don't know the reality behind the facade. So that experience alone taught me, man, this stuff isn't going to make me happy. And I think it's really important as a woman, especially one that's coming of age. I think it's so important to really have the knowledge to navigate and to make decisions the right way, and to know what is true and what's not true, not get caught up in these fallacies and not get caught up in these lies that can literally destroy your life. Hey, it looks like there's a few people hopping on. First of all, thank you so much for those who are joining in. Please like, comment, subscribe, but certainly get the like button up. get some more exposure. Thank you so much to those who have been generous to support me. You can find me on Cash App, Shay Sade, also Venmo. Again, if you have any topics or things in particular you would like me to cover, please let me know. I would love to hear from you. But again, as I was saying, women need to know, especially young women, that getting as much money as possible or securing the richest man doesn't necessarily make you happy. Look at Ayanna Fix My Life. How many different people from Love and Hip Hop, how many different, stars of NBA people have been on there miserable and depressed, literally talking about, I need help, fix my life. And they have millions of dollars to their name. And they're miserable. Miserable. Okay, looks like I have all these comments coming in. Life is hard for everyone. I can pay for vacations to help deal with it. Very, very true. Yeah, and that's just it. Rich people, poor people, middle income people are people. People still have problems. People still have issues. But there is a big problem. There is a big problem right now for women wanting to be, hypergamous, right? Or wanting to date up or marry up. And first of all, I think the primary issue with that is, okay, if your average woman makes around $30,000 and your average man makes around $45,000, you dating the guy next door, you're already hypergamous. You're already dating up. Because most women are struggling. I don't care what the census says about, women are opening more businesses, especially Black women are opening more businesses. Just because you start a business doesn't mean you're actually making income. So generally speaking, women are still making less than men. And there's, some people say it's gender wage gap kind of jobs. There's arguments as to why, but the general understanding is that men are generally making more than women. So your average woman just goes and dates the guy next door or marries a guy next door or in her classroom. She's being hypergamous. She's marrying up. So no, women don't always necessarily just want to be hypergamous. I think there's a push for luxury. I want to be the richest of the rich. I want to have the best of the best. I want to have the lifestyle that I see the Lori Harveys have, or that I see the movie stars have. Okay, so it's funny how when today they don't want to build, they just want to move in because you got money. Bingo. That's another issue that I have. That is another issue I have. Again, it's one thing, like my parents, for example, they worked really hard, and they had nice things because they worked really hard. You know what I mean? And again, to this day, it's like, of course I'm going to build with my man. Of course, we're going to build and acquire and do things. And I think there's beauty in that. I think there's beauty in having a partner and working with them and building with them and kind of seeing whether it's your empire or your family, whatever, grow. I think that's a beautiful thing. And that's how people did it for the majority of time. And so why now all of a sudden is there a generation where, many of us women are told we don't necessarily have to work for anything. We just step into our pride. We just step into our, call whatever. And if you are a woman who you choose to do that, you choose to marry a guy who has the wealth, you have to know that 9 times out of 10, okay, he may be twice your age, or he may not be maybe the physically most attractive, or he may not be, the 6'6", the 6-pack, the 6 figures, the 6 feet. He may not be all that. Like you have to give and you have to take. But this expectation that like Prince Charming, the Cinderella story that we all heard, that Prince Charming is going to come in and you're just going to get everything handed to you. You don't have to do any work. There doesn't have to be any compromise, and that you deserve this luxury lifestyle just because you're a woman. That's not true. And I actually would argue that that's unhealthy, because things don't make you happy. Having a bigger house doesn't make you happy. Having access to the most clothes and the best vacations doesn't make you happy long term. It doesn't make you happy long term. It's nice to be taken to a vacation. It's nice to go home to a pretty place to live in. It's nice to have good clothes. Those are all good temporary feelings. But if you don't deal with what's happening internally, if you are a person that's unable to be satisfied, if you are ungrateful, if you are depressed, if you are anxious, if you have insecurity, if you're prideful, none of these things, nothing that you buy is going to deal with that. Nothing that you buy can deal with your insecurity. Nothing. You can get plastic surgery to try to make your waist smaller, try to get bigger breasts, or to try to change your nose, or to microblading. I mean, name it. You can do anything to your face now. And as you do that thing to your face, then you're going to look at your knees and say, oh my gosh, my knees are horrible. I need to change them. Oh my gosh, this is horrible. My neck, the way my neck is aging. Now I got to go get collagen. Like, I mean, there's no shortage of things to complain about. I see Patricia B. Disney lied to me. Yes. Yes and yes. Disney lied to many of us. We live in a generation of women where Disney lied to us. Disney completely lied to us. And many of us bought into the idea, bought into the narrative, the Prince Charming. And I'm not saying that you can't have an amazing guy that has amazing qualities, because I think women can. I just think we have to define and redefine what that actually means. Having an amazing guy doesn't mean that this guy is over an empire. Or it doesn't mean, like I said, that he's a 666, the six pack, the six figures, and the 6 feet. Doesn't mean that. Your Prince Charming, like I said, could be a guy that you met in high school. Or your Prince Charming could be a guy that lives 2 doors over, or just a guy you met in Bible study. Like, it can be the average everyday guy. That can be your Prince Charming. You guys can build a beautiful and amazing life together. But don't let luxury, don't let this hyper focus on how things look, or this hyper focus on money, don't let that deter you or detract you from what's real. And don't let that deter you or detract you from what could actually satisfy you. Yeah, the quest for happiness is like being a crackhead. That's it. That's so right. And I think one of the things that I learned too, in my experience living in really, really big, beautiful homes, living in a small apartment, which I loved. And to this day, I still love my little small apartment. I know I won't be here forever, and I'll be out soon, but it's like, I got to the point where I'm like, if I can be happy now in a 500 square foot apartment in this little small place of my own, I'm not going to be happy when I get into a home that's 4,000 square feet. I'm not, because there's going to be something else for me to complain about. It's going to be, okay, now I'm in this big house, but crap, I don't have a pool. Okay, then I get a pool, then it's like, oh man, if only I had a spa. Then I get, a spa in there, then it's like, oh man, well, I just need to have a kid. Then I have a kid, and it's like, man, I need twins. Then I get twins, and it's like, oh, well, those twins, they need to have a bigger swing set. And it's like, it's like you got to move the goalpost. You got to move the goalpost. At any time you achieve that particular, that thing that you're just like, oh, I'm convinced it's going to make me happy. You get it, then you find out, okay, that wasn't it. Then you go for something else. And that's what I'm saying. The flesh can never be satisfied. It can be satisfied. I was meditating earlier today, I ran across a scripture, right? Where it was saying, it's easier for a man to enter the kingdom of heaven than for a rich man to enter the eye of than it is for a camel. No, I said that wrong. It said it's easier for a camel to enter the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. That was a saying, right? And I'm thinking the kingdom of God being, peace, joy, a state of being. And to me, that's a telltale sign that riches, sometimes they can be a distraction. They could be an illusion. Riches, money, they're amoral. They are not bad. They are not bad inherently. What I am saying is that it is bad when it becomes a deterrent, or when it becomes a distraction from what really matters. When it keeps a person from really dealing with their internal and eternal self. When it keeps a person from really focusing on what matters. Because those things have no ability to make you happy. Because as quickly as they come is as quickly as they can go. You can get a nice car and then it can be repossessed the next day. Or you can get a job that pays you amazing and lose it. Yeah, it's Matthew 18. Again, I say it is easier for a camel to get through a needle's eye than for a rich man into the kingdom of God. That's it. Yeah, that's when I was focusing on. And so I'm like, there's more to life than what you can just accrue. Not that things are bad. Things aren't bad, but don't let that be the thing that defines you. And I say this especially for women, especially for those of us who have been sold the Disney narrative that says, I have to get the Prince Charming. I have to get the guy that makes 6-7 figures. I have to secure the bag. I have to get the biggest house. I have to have the best makeup. I have to have the best clothes. I have to have the best shoes. That's all vanity. It's vanity. Literally, it's like chasing after the wind. It is chasing something that's not there. Why? Because It promises to fulfill you and it never ever does. I have personal experience to back that up. I know people who have some of more wealth than most people in the world and they are miserable. And I know people who are maybe considered poor or low income and they're the happiest they've ever been. One of my best friends, one of my best friends was her and her husband. Um, it was her and her husband, and they were, they had a multi-million-dollar engineering company out in the Bay Area, and they had just built a beautiful new home. A beautiful new home. It was, I think, like right under $2 million. It was gorgeous. It was just everything was just like pristine. And their company, I think they had already grossed anywhere between 1 to 2 billion, and they're at the point where they were about to make their business become like a multi-million-dollar business. They were right at that point. This particular time in life, they had 4 kids, 4 young kids. And the more the business grew, the more the husband had to work, the more time he was away from the kids, the more time he was away from the family, the more the boys started asking, "Where's daddy? Where's daddy?" Or the more stress and pressure they had. These friends of mine, they're also, they also have hearts for God. They really feel like they want to serve people. And their first desire was always that. Their first desire was always to serve people and to create a place where people can go, learn about community, and learn more about God. And so as their business grew, and as it grew and as more money was coming in, they started to notice that there was this competition between growing this business and making more money, and actually being there for the family, being there for the wife, and actually being there for the community. And this tension started to be created, and it was crazy because it's thinking, wow, like we're doing everything we were told to do. Like you're supposed to go and get a big business and make as much money as you can and get the biggest house you can and get the nicest thing. You're supposed to do this. We're all told we're supposed to do this. And as they're literally they're kind of checking off the box and they're going down this process, they're recognizing, wait, but I'm starting to lose a relationship with my kids. My kids they're not behaving right anymore. Wait, I'm losing intimacy with my spouse. Wait, I can't spend time with the people I love. And this tension was created, literally. Tension was created. And so through a series of different events, they're like, we feel this business, as much as we love it, it's getting in the way of the things that we actually love best. And so we've got to get rid of it. We've got to downsize. We've got to completely change these. We've got to downsize. And so they completely sold the business. They moved out of state to another state. I mean, they recently launched a ministry ministry nonprofit, however. And their focus was, they're like, you know what, we're going to get rid of this money seeking focus. And we're going to focus on what we think is more important, which is community. So in order for them to do that, like I said, they sold their company. They moved out of their multi-million-dollar home and they moved currently into what is now I think it's like a 400 or 500 square feet, it's like a glamping. It's literally like a mobile home. It's a nice mobile home, but it's like they're literally glamping right now as they're figuring things out. And your average person is going to look at them and be like, "You're absolutely crazy. Why would you leave? Why would you leave a multi-million-dollar business in a big, beautiful home to purposefully live in a place that is 500 square feet with 4 young kids? Why would you do that?" And I remember I've talked to her multiple times. I think they made that decision like 2-3 years ago. Now they're about 2-3 years into it. Their ministry or their nonprofit that they started, it's really starting to take off. It's really starting to, grow. People's lives are really starting to be changed. And I remember talking to her recently, and she's just like, my sons, they're the happiest they've ever been. They are the happiest they've ever been. They live in a 400 or 500 square feet apartment, mobile home, literally. And she's like, they're so happy. Like they run around, they have so much fun together. They're building toys or like making those fun little inventions. She's like, they are so happy. They love being around their dad. And she's like, she's tripping out because it's like, back when they were in that really big house in the Bay Area and they had all these toys and things, they were really unhappy. Their behavior wasn't as good. And she's like, I didn't know what was going on. She's like, just being in a place where there's more time to focus on one another, and they are working and they're building things, but now they're not under the pressure that they were before. She's like, literally, she's like, I don't know how else to say that. it's so crazy to me, but my kids are the happiest they've ever been. And as a mother, who wouldn't want that? Who wouldn't want that? And so that's just, that's just one experience and one example I can say of, again, just because a person has all these things and has this, even the best, biggest business, or has all the money in the world, does not mean that they are happy. And what I am not saying is that money is bad or that nice things are bad. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that making that your primary focus does not lead to happiness in the end, because it is it's an ever moving target. Once you hit that target, then there's something else. And yes, you guys, if you guys are listening, please like, please like, comment, subscribe. Thank you also for those who are tuning in. I know you could literally be listening to anything else. You could literally be anywhere else right now, but I thank you so much for tuning in. You can also find me on Cash App or Venmo, Shay Charday, if you want to support the channel. And as always, if there are any topics you would like me to discuss, please let me know. You can find me on email. It says, you will be old before you figure this all out. There is a template you should follow. Yeah. No, I agree. So I think the sooner we can recognize that, hey, things don't actually make you happy. Things don't actually make you satisfied. I think that starts to put things into perspective. And I will go to say, not, of course, I think men certainly have the pressure to produce and provide and to make as much money as possible, because men are judged by their jobs. They are judged by their money. They are judged by their careers. They're judged by each other and often by women. So of course there's pressure on men to have to try to do certain things or make a certain amount of money, of course. But there's also, I think, pressure on women that we have to go for the richest of the rich, and we have to have this high value lifestyle, and there's the same pressure, the same delusion, the same kind of Disneyfication that us women have gotten sold, and it doesn't make anyone happy. And we wonder why so many people are on antidepressants, and we wonder why so many people are unhappy and mental illness is up. Is it because many of us are just believing a lie? We believe what Disney told us. We believe what media told us. We believe that as long as I have this luxury lifestyle, or as long as I just have these nice things, or can just get me a guy that can give me nice things, I'll be happy. And we don't know that if you can't be happy today, if you can't be satisfied in where you're at today, then you won't be satisfied when you're there. You won't, because there's going to be something else that you don't have that's going to make you unsatisfied. And that is it's more about the mindset. It's less about what you have. Hey, from Puerto Rico. Hey. And yeah, no, you're right. So it looks like I got some likes coming in. Yeah, I know prostitutes who enjoy their job. I know one who in theory enjoyed it, but it wasn't without, I will say she enjoyed it, quote unquote, but it wasn't without sacrificing certain things. I can say that much. Because I would never, and I do not support, this is me personally, and I may not agree, but I don't personally support a person actively saying, yeah, I can go and sell my body for someone. I can go sell my body. And in the same token, be like, I'm going to sell my body, and I'm also going to try to be a wife, and I'm this wife material, and I'm all these things. I don't think a woman is any less valuable if she chooses to do that lifestyle, but there's no way you can do that and not have some repercussions. I'm sorry, like there's just no way around it. People may not agree with me, but there's going to be psychological repercussions at the very least, if not physical repercussions, if not emotional repercussions. There are certain things that come with that lifestyle. Anything that we choose, there are repercussions to it. Like I said, if I choose to be digital media, there's certain repercussions that choose to be in digital media versus a person who chooses to work at Walmart, or someone who chooses any job that we choose, anything that we choose, there are repercussions. We can't act like that does not exist. And so I don't like sometimes people promoting certain lifestyles and acting like, oh, I can do all these things and there's not going to be any, nothing's going to happen. That's not true. That's just not true. Yeah. Happiness comes from inside you. Money makes you comfortable while you're waiting. Yeah, no, that's true. That's totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah, it makes men happy. Mental state is regulated by status and hierarchy. to have to achieve. Yeah, no, and yeah, no, you're right. That's what I'm saying. I think there's certainly this pressure put on men to achieve, and they are men in this society are most definitely, they are graded and they are rated based upon their level of achievement. That's just the way the society grows. Bill Gates and Mel, let that be the definition of happiness. Bingo. And I said that earlier in the broadcast, that if anyone ever believed that as soon as I make as much money, I'm going to be the happiest thing ever, all we have to do, look at Jeff Bezos and his, recent divorce. And now we have Bill Gates. I mean, these are the richest people in the world, that in theory would have every single reason to stay together. And they can't even stay married. They don't even have a happy marriage. So let's just dispel the myth, ladies. Let's just dispel the myth that I'm going to get a rich guy, or I'm going to get a guy that has all these nice things, and we're going to be happy. Or I'm going to want to stay with him, because those two women, based upon that ideology, should have never left their men. If happiness or a happy marriage even was based upon how much money a woman or how much luxury a woman can get in a marriage, those women should have never left their men. They should have stayed together. And so those experiences alone, even without us knowing the full details, those experiences alone show that that's a lie. That's a lie. Just because a person has a whole bunch of different money, all this money and all this access to the best therapists and psychologists, access to the best homes and vacations, the best spiritual retreats, or the best, they have access to any and everything that should, in theory, make them happy. And they couldn't stay happy in marriage. So we know that that's false. We know that these things are not what's going to make you happy. Yeah, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. That's what I'm saying. And we can't act like it doesn't. Whatever you choose to do or choose not to do, there's going to be an equal and opposite reaction. Bingo. So yeah, those are really my thoughts. I've had opportunities to experience and live in beautiful homes, have access to nice things, be around nice things. And I can't say necessarily made me any happier. I have literally know of people who have had the most beautiful, the best, arguably some of the richest, and had the most money, all those things, fill in the blank, and been miserable. I know people who don't make a ton of money, who are may be considered poor or low income, and are some of the happiest, sweetest, most well-rounded, lighthearted individuals you ever meet. And I'm not saying money is bad. I'm not saying having nice things is bad. What I am saying, that this fallacy that says, hey, ladies out there, you need to get the richest guy you can. You need to get the most luxurious lifestyle you can in order to be happy. That's false. That's false. Luxury cannot make you happy. If you can't be happy now, if you can't be happy living in a 400 square foot apartment, you won't be happy living in a 4,000 square foot apartment if you have not dealt with your internal state of being, if you have not dealt with who you are, because who you are should not be defined by something that can change immediately. Who you are is defined by your house, it's defined by how much money you have in the bank. All those things can change like a drop of a hat. They could change as fast as a pandemic came. Imagine if you're a person that your entire life was based upon your job and you lost your job. How do you feel? You insecure? You don't know who you are anymore? And those are the kinds of things that happen when we base our identity on these external things, or when women, we base our identity on, merely how many likes we can get on Instagram, how much we can portray that we have a happy lifestyle, or we're so luxurious, or we're so this or that. That's how empty and insecure our life becomes when it's predicated upon some likes, and it's predicated upon how much I can portray that I'm a millionaire when I'm really not. When I'm really not. So the flesh can never be satisfied. It can never be satisfied. And I've learned this personally, and I will say, I'm not going to say I'm 100% okay. I'm 100% perfect in all these things. I have to remind myself this too, because we get bombarded every single day. We get bombarded every single day of saying, hey, you can only be happy when this happens. You can only be happy when you're here. You can only be happy when you're there. We all get that. And so I have to remind myself, not true. If I can't be happy today, if I can't be satisfied today, if I can't be connected with God today, if I can't enjoy where I'm at today, if I can't be satisfied or grateful or content where I'm at today, it's not going to be there for me tomorrow, because tomorrow there'll be some other issue to mess me up. And so I gotta get my heart right today. I gotta get my heart right today. So those are the things that I've just been thinking about, as I was meditating before on just just the lies that many of us have been told. And I'll even say this is stuff that even as Christian women, I've said this before. I'm a Christ follower. Um, my relationship with God, my relationship with Christ is everything to me, and I see this ideology rampant throughout the church. So this isn't just something that women who are spiritual or non-spiritual, believe in God, don't believe in God. This is all women, even Christian women I know, get caught up in this whole abundant life kind of, okay, I want an abundant life, therefore God's going to bless me with a man that is making seven figures and preaches on Sundays and also has a really, really nice car. Like they just kind of put Christianese or gospel-y or religious language around it. But they have the same corrupt heart. I have no else to say it, but they have that same corrupt mindset. I see this even in the church. So this is something that many of us have struggled with, and we have to address and say, hey, that's a lie. I don't need to have all these things to be happy. If I can't be happy with myself, can't be happy, content with God, with what He's given me, where I'm at, I'm never going to be happy. And I think that's something to be reminded. And I think when we're content and we're grateful, I think at that point it's even easier for us to navigate. Then we can go and do things and pursue different desires and careers and things that we have, and they don't necessarily define us. So they don't have as much of a control over us, and we don't get off balance because we recognize God as our source, and so we stay in balance. The things that we do, they're done within balance. If that makes sense. So. Yeah, so those are just some of the things I've been thinking about. I'm definitely going to go more into this. I'm thinking definitely want to have some, different speakers come on and share their experience, and just, share where they're at in general. A lot more topics I want to address. Again, thank you so much for those who have tuned in. I really appreciate you. Please be sure to like before you hop off. Comment, subscribe. You can always find me on Cash App or Venmo, Shay Sharday. And as always, if you have any topics you would like me to address, any questions, comments, or concerns, you can always email me, sharday@shaysharday.com. So thank you so much again for tuning in, and we will talk soon. All right, take care.